Serious men of Reddit, what uncommon red flags in men should women be on the lookout for?
If you have to defend him with a phrase like, "Oh, but when he's just with me, it's different," or, "But you don't see him when he is nice, who he is when he's at his worst is still the guy you're dating, and if all your friends see or hear about is the worst," it's not something they aren't seeing, it's something you aren't recognizing.
If he's getting out of a relationship while trying to start one with you, you will never be sure when he begins one with someone else while still in one with you.
Just putting this out there, the usual red flags are so consistent you can set your watch to them. A good yardstick is to look at your relationship from the outside. If your sister/best friend/mother's boyfriend did X to her, would you be concerned? Self-awareness is important because sometimes you're too close to the situation to see it objectively.
This goes for all genders really, but anyone who thinks they have the right to punish you for perceived wrongdoings is a waste of time mo. That's not how equals resolve issues.
Answer: initially? A failure to listen during conversation and subsequent failure to ask you about anything important to you.
Someone who can't accept your accomplishments. Don't be with someone who feels the need to compete with you or can't accept that you've accomplished your goals. My wife is a doctor, I'm a fucking idiot. I asked her what made her want to marry me. She said, "You took time to praise my accomplishments and made me feel important all while struggling yourself." Edit: I've never had this many upvotes before. I can't thank everyone enough.
Disrespect disguised as jokes, comedy can be a little hurtful, but an obvious insult, followed by "I was just joking," is a coward's method to avoid confrontation.
If his last girlfriend tries to earnestly warn you, she may actually be warning you.
I wouldn't call it a red flag per se, but it's a thing I'm noticing more and more. 100%, if you're feeling unwanted and unloved, and are thinking about breaking up, and then you try to bring it up and all of a sudden he starts being everything you wanted, to only go back to being distant and cold. You have yourself a love bomber. It's awful. The amount of people who fall for this is sad. 'Cause some people just get caught in this vicious cycle, not knowing it's even happening.
Very nice to you but not others, has a problem with you going out or hanging out with friends. If he has to be with you every time you do etc. run.
Lying for your approval. Had a couple sit down at my restaurant and the guy kept loudly insisting that he would give extra tips while in front of his date. He said it again when he went up to the cashier to pay via Apple Pay. Forgot to sign the receipt until we told him to. Guy proceeded to rush out the restaurant with his date, yelling back about how much tip he so generously gave. For an almost $60 dinner, the guy gave $2 in tip. I feel bad for his date. Edit: spelling.
When I worked at KFC, there was a girl whose boyfriend would stay parked outside the door during her entire shift. That is not something I've seen commonly, and it's a huge red flag.
Be careful of men who blame every failed relationship on the ex. Not only will you be the next bad story, but he likely doesn't have accountability.
Men that take kindness as weakness. All too common.
Low Uber passenger ratings.
All the comments here seem to be quite common as far as red flags go. These are all the things I see ladies on dating sites say they want to avoid. Uncommon ones? Hides beer under his bed, keeps a knife under his pillow, has hidden cameras in his living room and kitchen, etc.
What I call alpha intellectuals, those that have to constantly show how intelligent they are, how they are the most knowledgeable on a subject, and they always have to be right. It's like their identity depends on people recognizing they are smart. Edit: thanks for the silver.
If he is mean towards your pet, don't stay silent, your pet needs your protection. One of my friend's boyfriend was quite mean towards her bird. I don't know how she tolerated him. I would never let anyone mistreat my pet.
Inability to apologize.
Immediately shutting down when you try to discuss anything deep or potentially problematic in the relationship.
Angry drunk.
Temper and inability to control it. Edit: a decent amount of comments have come my way to suggest that temper is not uncommon. I'd say that's largely true. Everyone gets angry sometimes. The distinction is in the inability to control it. I found out a few years in that my partner was unable to control their temper, and by then, I have a ring in a house. In hindsight, the inability to control one's temper is a good thing to look out for and know before committing, as it can be a lifelong issue to deal with. I've not known many people that can't keep it together enough to not punch holes in drywall or whatnot, so I generally lean on the side of most functional people can control their tempers appropriately.
Dudes who try to humiliate other dudes in front of women. Also, related, dudes who backstab and talk shit about other dudes to look better in front of women.
It's hard to see, because he will literally create this persona exclusively hide it from you, but those soft boys super emotional and sad and let's watch the Notebook pleading face in front of a girl, but then he's a gross weirdo when he's around his friends and pretty much every other walk of life.
If their personality changes after the first few months and you start to feel like you are walking on eggshells most days, there is a good chance they have masked who they really are and were only being who they think you want them to be. This can be a sign of an emotional abuser, and you will hold on to the truth and believing they are just going through something and you can bring them back to how it was. You can't. Run at it. As a lot of you have pointed out, I agree there are definitely variables to this as to the reason a scenario like the above may be occurring. Mental health, undiagnosed factors, etc. I am talking from a point of what I have experienced, and every person's situation will be different regardless of the similarities.
The big ones have been mentioned: no sense of humor, possessiveness, temper. I'd also add lack of intellectual curiosity. They don't need to be super smart, but they should be interested in the world around them, in ideas, and most of all in you.
If he doesn't return the cart when grocery shopping.
Someone who is unable to joke about themselves.
How much mom controls his life.
Equivocating honesty with assholery.